Yo, it's Echi Sensei here, and this is the second part of the video. If you haven't already seen the first one, if you haven't seen the first one, then you definitely should, because it wouldn't make sense if you watch the second one. But who am I to tell you if you wanna, be 50-50 bad boy, 50-50 good boy, then by all means do so. With everything I've just said in the previous video, you probably think I don't like Horimiya anymore. But honestly, that's the frustrating part. I still do. Because underneath the rushed pacing and the missed opportunities, there's a story that completely understood what it feels like to be alone. And I don't mean alone because nobody's around you. Alone because you don't think anyone actually sees you. And I think that's the huge major difference. Loneliness isn't, sitting by yourself at lunch. Sometimes it's laughing with everyone else while convincing yourself that if you disappeared tomorrow, nobody would notice. And that's Miyamura. People always talk about his piercings or his tattoos or the huge glow up where he just takes the glasses off, cuts his hair, and all of a sudden he's like really hot, and it's like, what the fuck, because when I do that, I'll shock as hell. But none of that is what makes him interesting. His appearance was never the point. It's what he thinks about himself. Before Hori ever entered his life, Miyamura has already decided who he is. He's the weird kid, the quiet kid, the invisible kid, the one nobody wants to be around, essentially. And that's what bullying does to people. It doesn't just hurt while it's happening, it moves in. And by that, I mean it becomes your inner voice. And eventually the people who bullied Miyamura aren't around forever. But the version of himself that they created is, even after they are gone, he's still carrying them around every single day. That's what Horimiya gets so right. Healing doesn't happen when the bullying stops. Healing starts when you stop believing in the things it teaches you. And Hori doesn't magically fix him. I actually love that the series avoids that cliche. She doesn't save Miyamura. She gives him a space where he finally feels safe enough to stop pretending to be someone he's not. There's a huge difference to that, because nobody can heal you. But the right people can make healing feel possible. That's why friendship is probably my favorite part of Horimiya, and not the romance, but the friendship. Watching Miyamura slowly become part of a group, watching him go from accepting rejection to accepting company, watching him realize people actually want him around. Those moments hit harder than any confession ever could, because that's something so many people experience without even realizing it. You spend years believing nobody likes you, only to look back as an adult and realize people were trying to get close to you. You were just too busy convincing yourself you didn't deserve to let them in. And maybe that's why Miyamura resonates with so many people. Not because he's secretly attractive, not because he gets the girl, but because almost everyone knows what it feels like to hide parts of themselves. And it comes under these categories. Maybe you changed schools. Maybe you got more confident. Maybe you found better friends. Maybe you even finally became comfortable in your own skin. Then one day, you look back at the person you used to be and you barely recognize them. But that younger version of yourself is still there, still scared, still insecure, still wondering if anyone would ever choose them. Horimiya isn't about escaping that version of yourself. It's about accepting them. Miyamura doesn't erase his past. He doesn't wake up one day as a completely different person. He carries it with him. The scars don't disappear. the memories don't disappear either. The loneliness doesn't magically vanish overnight. He simply finds people who remind him that his past isn't the only thing that gets to define him anymore. And I think that's why even after all these years, after noticing every pacing issue and every skipped chapter, but most importantly, every underdeveloped side character, I still enjoyed watching Horimiya because stories aren't always remembered for being perfect. Sometimes they are remembered because they found you at the exact moment that you needed them. And for the 16-year-old me, Horimiya did exactly that. You know, I don't think I actually understood why I loved Miyamura until a couple of days ago. Well, a week, maybe. I can't remember. But that's besides the point. I was hanging out with one of my friends from secondary school, and somehow Horimiya came up in a conversation. Yes, the same friend I terrorized Horimiya with. That's him. Shout out Major the Filth. I was telling him how much this anime meant to me growing up, and then he just looked at me and went, you know why you like Miyamura so much, right? I was like, go on. And he said, because that was basically you. At first, I laughed. I thought he was taking the piss. Then he started reminding me what I was actually like back then, back in secondary school. I wasn't exactly someone people noticed. I wasn't popular then, like I was, actually, but you get the point. Then as I got older, things changed. I grew into myself. I changed the way I dress. I still have the yellow cardigan. But I became more confident and I looked a lot more different during college years. And all of a sudden, people who would have walked straight past me a couple of years earlier suddenly knew my name and who I was. People wanted to be around me. Aside from the friend group and the girls that wanted me. Yeah, I know how that sounds. I'm past my prime, actually, which is quite sad. Anyway, because in your own head, you're still the quiet kid. You're still carrying around the version of yourself that believed nobody cared. Even when reality had changed, I think that's why Miyamura resonates with so many people. It's because many people spend years feeling invisible, then life changes. Maybe people finally start seeing something in you that was always there. But here's the weird part. Your mind doesn't catch up. You still see yourself through the eyes of the kid who got ignored. That's why Miyamura doesn't suddenly become this loud, confident main character the moment people start accepting him. He's still awkward, and he doubts himself a lot. He still assumes people don't really want him around because of the bullying, the loneliness, being overlooked. Those things don't disappear. You can change your appearance in a year. You can change your confidence in a few months, but changing the way you see yourself, the way you perceive yourself, that can take a lifetime. And I think that's why years later, I still see a bit of myself in Miyamura. Not because our stories are identical, but because I know what it is like to look back at the person you used to be and realize you've been carrying them around this whole time. Maybe that's why Horimiya hit me so hard when I was younger. Because I wasn't watching Miyamura become someone else. Instead, I was watching someone slowly realize that he was enough all along. And I don't think 16-year-old me had figured that out yet. And with everything said, after rewatching Horimiya, where does that leave me? Well, it's definitely not my favorite romance anime anymore. And honestly, I don't even think it's in my top 3, which ultimately hurts to admit. because this wasn't just another anime I watched. It was one of those animes. The ones that quietly become a part of your life. The ones you recommend to everyone. The one that influenced the way you dress, the way you draw, even the way you think about relationships. Think about it. And I don't think it'll ever stop appreciating. Horimiya did all of that for me. And I don't think I'll ever stop appreciating it for that. But appreciation isn't the same as quality. Rewatching it made me realize something I'd never separated before. The anime and the memories attached to it. For years, I'd been rating both at the same time. The comfort, the secondary school, watching it after class, talking about it with friends, buying the yellow cardigan because I thought Miyamura looked cool. All of that became tangled up within the anime itself. So every time I thought about Horimiya, I wasn't remembering what actually happened. I was remembering how it made me feel. And that's what nostalgia does. It doesn't lie to you, but it quietly edits the footage. It trims the awkward scenes. It smooths over the pacing. It fills in the emotional gaps. It conveniences you that what you remember is exactly what happened. Then you go back years later and watch the real thing. That's exactly what happened to me. I started noticing the rushed pacing, the underdeveloped side characters who I wanted more from, the emotional moments that didn't get enough room to breathe, the incredible manga content that had been left behind. And for the first time, I could separate the adaptation from the feeling. Does that make Horimiya a bad anime? Not even close. I still think it's one of the most easiest romance animes to recommend to someone who's never watched the genre. It's funny, wholesome, and it's beautifully animated. Its themes of loneliness, friendship, and accepting yourself are still some of my favorites in romances anime. And Miyamura is still one of the most genuine protagonists I've seen. But now, I can also admit its flaws. I admit that it's rushed through moments that deserve time. I can also admit that it introduced characters who never reached their full potential, and it left the audience feeling like they don't care enough for the character, which is really upsetting, matter of fact. But none of that takes away what Horimiya meant to me. It just means I finally stopped confusing personal impact with perfection. So where does it rank now? Probably somewhere in my top 10, which is still good, yeah, I guess. Maybe even scraping the bottom of it depending on the day. And honestly, I think that's where it belongs. Not because I love it any less, but because I've grown up. I've watched more stories, experienced more life, and realized that sometimes the anime that changes you isn't necessarily the best one. It's just the one that found you when you needed it the most. Maybe that's why I'll never hate Horimiya. It was there for a version of me that probably needed it more than I realized. Even if years later I can finally see every crack in its foundation. So, thank you, Horimiya. You may have fallen out of my top 3, but you'll always have a place on my shelf. And I think that's a much more honest kind of love. And I want to thank you all for listening into my rant, and comment which animes you want me to cover, because I have so many ideas and it was really fun editing these types of videos. it's my first time doing it, and I don't know. It just fills me with joy, I can't lie. But nonetheless, Ecchi Sensei out.